How's it going, everybody? It's Warren, and welcome back to Superhero Central. With the release of the recent Wandavision trailer, we thought it would be a natural choice for us to go over some of Wanda's, aka the Scarlet Witch, crazy awesome facts. And so we'll be ranking them in a top 10 order fashion like we normally do here. The Scarlet Witch has made many appearances in the MCU and in the comics as well. Her comic version does differ at times between her MCU version, but that does not downgrade her in any way, shape, or form. So we are going to be focusing on the overall facts about the Scarlet Witch. And coming in at number 10 is the fact that Wanda's parents are actually Maximoffs. And that may seem like a no-brainer for some people, especially if you're only familiar with her in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, if you take a close look into the comics, specifically September of 1979, you are led to believe that the villain Magneto was actually the father of Wanda and Pietro. The comic said that Magneto was actually their biological father and that the Maximoffs just adopted them. And this went on for a while, Wanda and Pietro believing that Magneto was their father, but they would of course go on to find out that he was not actually their father. But in fact, she is a Maximoff. So naturally tying into our number 9 fact is the fact that Wanda Maximoff is actually not a mutant. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wanda isn't a mutant in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but she also isn't in the comics as of recently. In the MCU, Wanda and Pietro were genetically experimented on by Hydra's Baron Wolfgang von Strucker, in which they used Loki's scepter to grant them power, which of course was the Mind Stone. So they're not mutants in the MCU, but recently in the comics, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver encountered the High Evolutionary while on a mission to his counter-Earth. There he told them that the Maximoffs and not Magneto were actually their biological parents, and that their abilities stemmed not from the mutant gene, but from the High Evolutionary's own genetic tampering when they were infants on Wundagore Mountain. But even though she's not technically a mutant, she is still one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. And that was a little bit of trouble for the heroes at first, because coming in at our number 8 fact is that she was initially a villain. When the Scarlet Witch was introduced in X-Men number 4 in 1964, she was with the evil group the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, led by Magneto. But this wasn't the only first appearance of her as a villain. In the MCU, when she is introduced, she basically dismantles the entire Avengers with the exception of Hawkeye. Now, of course, in the comics, she would go on to join the Avengers and she would do the same in the MCU, but initially she was a villain. At number 7, we have 2 of Wanda's powers, telepathy and telekinesis. Now, a lot of her abilities come from these 2 specific powers, such as when she made the Avengers experience terrible, horrible nightmares with her telepathic abilities. And on the other hand, she has the power to lift insane amounts of mass with only her mind, like the time she lifted the machines that were wreaking havoc in Wakanda. She used her powers and magic to lift them and throw them at their own armies. So, needless to say, she has the best of both worlds when it comes to her powers, physical and mental manipulation. Coming in at our number 6 spot is Vision not being the only romantic interest in her life. Yes, her most well-known relationship is of course being married to Vision, and of course we're getting the WandaVision series coming soon. But there were others, and although none of these really lasted, they still happened, such as with the champion Wonder Man, and even more notoriously, Dr. Doom. How's that for a power couple? Villains were obsessed with her power, so they tried to get close to her, and can we really blame them considering how powerful she actually is? Now, she was suffering from amnesia and also wasn't the most mentally stable person out there, but this still happened, and that's why it earns a spot here on our list. At number 5, we have her ability to resurrect someone. Now, power of life is no ordinary power, and if all of our superheroes had it, why would we get so clenched up and emotional when our superheroes do indeed kick the superhero bucket? There would really be no point in a sense, so the MCU had to balance her out, but the fact remains that she does indeed have the power to resurrect others. Taking our number 4 spot, we have her Hex abilities, or rather her ability to manipulate realities. Wanda uses what is called chaos magic, and we're talking about somebody who made the world where mutants ruled with Magneto as their leader over the humans. That's pretty intense. So watch out when trying to take her down, because she might literally change the world around you as you know it. Speaking of Wanda's ability to manipulate reality, at our number 3 spot we have Wanda's children being born. Now, the first time she ends up figuring out that they were just shards of the demon Mephisto, so they were taken from her. However, they would later make an appearance, rebirthed as Wiccan and Speed, and eventually reunited with their mother, the Scarlet Witch. That must have been one heck of a reunion since she ends up getting her kids after all. At number 2, we have her going toe-to-toe with the Mad Titan, Thanos. It was revealed by Marvel Studios' president, Kevin Feige, that, quote, Wanda Maximoff, who is probably near the upper echelons of power, I contend she would have taken down Thanos if he hadn't called the army. It was done. So basically, he said that she would have killed Thanos if he didn't rain fire upon his whole army. Considering how truly strong Thanos is, this makes the Scarlet Witch seem even stronger than ever. And finally, coming in at our number 1 spot, we have the fact that the Scarlet Witch wiped out 90% of all the mutant population's powers. In the House of M storyline, she uttered the 3 famous words, "No more mutants," and that's all it took for her to pull that off, taking away the powers of 90% of the mutant population. And all it took was her saying those 3 words. So there you have it, our top 10 crazy awesome facts about Wanda Maximoff, aka the Scarlet Witch. Let us know which one you thought was the most interesting, and drop your favorite fact about Wanda Maximoff down below. As always, this is Warren, and thanks so much for joining us here at Superhero Central.